This is an ABC News special report.
Good morning. I'm Charles Gibson at ABC's Times Square studios in New York. And we come to air because we have news of developments inside the John Kerry campaign. Senator Kerry went to bed in Boston last night, uncertain as to what he would do and uncertain as to what the numbers would show him when he woke up in the morning. And he cannot have found any solace in those numbers. The president's vote total nationwide shows him with a lead of about 3.5 million votes. In the electoral count, there are states still that cannot be called, but the magic number is 270. And as you saw there in that graphic, President Bush is at 254, but that is without Ohio. And it is at Ohio that the Kerry people have been looking this morning. The Bush lead in the state of Ohio, just under 140,000 votes. Realistically, no way that John Kerry could make that up, even with the ballots that had been counted or had been put aside on a probationary or on a possible basis to count. There was no way that those votes could be made up in Ohio. The president's victory was virtually assured. So Ed O'Keefe is with the Kerry campaign. He's been covering the campaign for more than a year, and he has news now of what Senator Kerry is going to do today. Ed is on the phone with us from Boston. Ed, what do you know?
Charlie, the decision has been made by the Kerry camp. ABC News has learned that Senator John Kerry will concede the presidential election of 2004 this afternoon, early afternoon, around 1 p.m. at Faneuil Hall. That is the site where the candidate announced his presidential campaign just over a year ago in Boston.
Ed, who has he been meeting with this morning?
Senator Kerry left the number crunching to the boiler room, as they call it. These were the Michael Hooley's of his campaign, the numbers of people who would sit and watch the returns as they came in last night. They had predictions and estimates on each of the states. They were crunching the numbers well into the morning, and this morning they decided they just simply did not have the numbers to make up the difference in Ohio. They translated that information to the candidate and left the final decision up to he and his key advisors. That decision was made just in the last hour. Senator Kerry has decided to concede and will do so this afternoon.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, as I say, who has been our off-air reporter with the Kerry campaign for more than a year now. But I was pointing out that there were provisional ballots, a considerable number of provisional ballots, about 147,000 that had been filed in Ohio. But it was just not possible that Senator Kerry could make up the president's 136,000 vote lead. All of those provisional votes would have to be counted, and that is no certain thing. And then the senator would need to win almost all of them to carry Ohio. In the harsh light of morning, it was apparent that that was not going to be possible, and so now we wait the concession speech from Senator Kerry, as Ed pointed out, that would come somewhere around 1 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Time at Faneuil Hall there in downtown Boston, the historic site. Then the next move, presumably up to the president, who has been waiting to claim victory, waiting for Senator Kerry to take the first step. And presumably soon after the senator concedes, the president will claim victory. John Cochran is at the White House with some sense of what the Bush people are thinking. John?
Charlie, this comes as welcome news here at the White House. When I told a staffer here at the White House what ABC had learned about the Kerry concession speech at 1 o'clock East Coast time, he said, well, it was news to him, but it was good news. This is playing out just the way the White House wanted it. They've given John Kerry additional time. They said, look, we're not angry at John Kerry for procrastinating in their view. They say, we understand it's difficult to accept defeat in a close election. We understand there's enormous pressure on him from his diehard supporters to keep up the fight as long as he possibly could. But now they say it's time for him to say it's all over, and they say he's doing that. There's not the anger here, for example, you go back to the 1960 election when Richard Nixon waited until the next day and late into the next day. He initially came out and said in the early hours, if present trends continue, John Kennedy will be elected president. Historians tell us that Kennedy said that's the kind of thing you would expect from Richard Nixon, and he used an unpleasant word in describing Richard Nixon. None of that here. And they hope here at the White House that by the time the evening news shows come on, that Americans will have a reasonably good taste in their mouth, that they will have heard a gracious concession speech from John Kerry and a gracious victory speech from the president. Charlie?
All right, thanks. John Cochran reporting from the White House. This all now plays out. There is a sort of protocol that is followed in these things. Associated Press reporting that Senator Kerry has made the congratulatory phone call to President Bush, congratulating him on his re-election. There will be live coverage, obviously, on ABC when Senator Kerry makes his concession speech. As Ed O'Keefe reported, that to come about 1 o'clock this afternoon. The president's acceptance or his declaration of victory to follow soon thereafter. I'm Charles Gibson in New York. Good morning.